Hello and welcome to one of my little lore series. Today I want to talk about the mystical world of Trudvang. Well, first off, what is Trudvang? Trudvang Chronicles is a pen-paper role-playing game from the Swedish publisher Riot Minds. It was first released as an expansion book for the Swedish game Drakar och Demoner. After Drakar och Demoner was shut down because of financial reasons, Trudvang was also put on ice until 2016. When the publisher Riot Minds released the game in Swedish and in many other languages. Trudvang has a deep and interesting lore that is heavily inspired by Germanic, Celtic and Finnic myths. Paul Bonner does most of the covers, while Alvaro Tapia does most of the illustrations inside the books. And so, Trudvang Chronicles also has a strong design language. The rules can be a bit complicated, but once you get a hang of it, or do some homebrewing, Trudvang Chronicles is a great game to play. The lore. The world of Trudvang is a gloomy and mystical place. Trolls roam the forests, while Jotun roam the icy grasslands and mountains. Elves, dwarves, dragons, and many other creatures we know from the tales of our forefathers can be found in Trudvang. Nature is wild, and life outside the fortified villages, townships, and cities is rough and dangerous. But there are not only monsters roaming the forests. Heroes of sagas and mighty warriors inspire awe and roam the world to find lost treasures, fulfill ancient prophecies, or just slay monsters. Most adventurers start very low, but as they rise in skill, they also take up more dangerous adventures and prove themselves worthy in the eyes of the gods. The 6 to 7 regions of Trudvang definitely let you take a deep dive into the lore of a world that is packed to the brim with cool monsters and mystical stories. In the west, there's Westmark, a land of huge forests and green pastures. The Virans, the people that rule Westmark, value knowledge and wisdom the most, even though they have a strong knightly tradition. They are united under the tenet of Nid, a monotheistic religion revolving around the one true god Gave. The worship of Gave is regulated by churches and temples dedicated to him. The tenet of Nid is heavily inspired by Christianity, but it also has many influences from paganism. Trees are holy symbols, and Gave is a god of judgment and light. The next region is Midland, a land of wide plains and rocky highlands. The Elf traditions rule this land, a religion based on nature and hero worship. Many would-be heroes and adventurers seek out dangerous beasts and attempt to slay them, so that the bards might sing of their deeds and they can join the ranks of ancient legends. Midland is divided in faith as the Virans from Westmark slowly try to convert the Midlanders. But in the east, the belief in the Elf traditions is still strong. But it also caught between all the other regions of Trudvang, and so wars never far and few between. Midland is inspired by sagas like Beowulf and Celtic myths. The Midlanders thus value strength and courage over all else. The Stormlands are the next region. The Stormlands are a wind-swept wilderness that is haunted by monsters. The Stormlanders are hardy people, and their grim faith Garbanes leaves no room for weaklings. The Stormlanders, like the people of Midland, excel in war and thus are renowned fighters. Their religion, Garbanes, revolves around the storm gods and the nature gods, where the death gods are hated. Sacrifices must be made, and the gods are to be honored by great deeds. The Stormlands are more inspired by Germanic myths and legends, and so they often much more resemble your typical Hollywood Viking. The next regions are Muspelheim and Soy, the home of the dwarves and elves. Muspelheim is the subterranean realm underneath the surface of Trudvang. Here live the dwarves. Their great forges bellow out flames, and their great fortresses stand strong. The dwarves have been around since the earliest ages of Trudvang, and they have produced many great heroes and magical artifacts. The dwarven kingdom of Tvologoya is the oldest of its kind and has seen whole ages pass by. The dwarves like to keep to their subterranean realm and avoid the surface of Trudvang, but sometimes they need to visit the other races to make trade or recover stolen artifacts. Only a few dwarves come to the surface of Trudvang for extended periods of time, but these few adventurers often make a name for themselves as dragon slayers or treasure hunters. The dwarves of Trudvang resemble the dwarves of Germanic sagas. They like to forge great treasures, are wise, live under the earth, and like to keep to themselves. They worship the mountains and magical runes. The Thuls, the priests of the dwarves, as much shamans as they are warriors. The elves, on the other hand, are inspired by Finnic mythology, like the tales that comprise the Kalevala. They live on the huge island of Soy, far to the south, and roam around its wild forests and mountains. They don't build settlements, but rather are nomads that constantly travel across Soy. The Vanya, their gods, have left them in their time of need, and so they are torn between the two different perspectives. The Ilmalaini elves, the Star elves, see the disappearing of their gods as a test of strength and will, and so they still believe in the Vanya, ages after their disappearance. The Kopikali elves, or Dark elves, see the sudden disappearance of the Vanya as a sign of cowardice and weakness, and so they have turned to the nature of Trudvang for worship. Both sides hate each other and frequently clash against each other. The elves live extraordinarily long and are creatures of grace and nature. That might seem like a typical fantasy elf, but they have some unique aspects. They are also a warrior people, even though they value wisdom much more than physical might. And one should never anger an elf for no reason, as they can be deadly fighters. The last region is the Great Ice Plains, or Viedo, as some call it. It's a desolated wasteland. It lies far to the north and is only inhabited by Hrimtrolls and Hrimtursirs. There are many legends of this place. These legends tell of dark things lying dormant beneath the ice, but one can never be sure until you make the long journey north. What books are there? There are many books already available for Trudvang Chronicles, and there are more to come. Trudvang Chronicles is mainly financed by Kickstarter, and so if you like the game and want to see some really cool releases in the future, you might want to check out the Kickstarter page of Riot Minds. Currently, there are the core rulebooks like the Game Master Guide or the Player's Handbook. Then there are campaigns like Snow Sagas or Runes of Memory. You really get to see the world of Trudvang in action. There are also smaller adventures available, like the renowned Wild Heart or the Elven Horn. Also, 2 region guides have been released since the launch in 2016, where you can really take a deep dive into the lore of the region you're looking at. One release, for instance, has been the Stormlands, and the second region book is about Muspelheim. I highly recommend Trudvang for anyone who loves the old myths and is into tabletop role-playing. And with that, I want to say farewell to you. Check out my other videos if you're interested in the lore of some cool pen-paper role-playing games or tabletop games, and maybe leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you really want to. And with this, till next time, fellow lore seekers.